I would just like everyone to know that deep down inside, they are worthy of having a truly abundant, happy, healthy, fruitful life. And if you don't have that, just take a good look around and figure out how you can get it because you deserve it.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
You've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Today we're talking with Teresa Bruni, the healer's healer. She's going to give us some tips and tricks on how to get off the couch and get to work. How are you doing today, Teresa?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for your time today. We all very much appreciate it. Before we jump into about exactly what the healer's healer is all about, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your history?
Yes, I'd be happy to, Ken. So I've been on a fairly long journey. As you know, as you and I have discussed, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So that's really the only lifestyle I ever knew. And I've been an entrepreneur off and on throughout the course of my career, my life, I should say. And I've also had a corporate career. During my corporate career, I became chronically ill and I was on full disability for 9 years. And it was that part of my journey that led me into the work that I do now.
Okay, so a personal hurdle, I guess. That 9 years of disability is bigger than a hurdle, I think. It's more like a canyon, right? That's a lot of time to sit back and think about what you're going to be doing and, contemplating your value, right? And through all that process, that's got to be very, very challenging. So congratulations for getting through that and then getting back to where you're at today. That's a big achievement. Can you tell us a little bit about what the healer's healer does? That's the business name, the healer's healer. Is that your mantra?
Well, yes. I am an intuitive healer and I work with people who have all types of challenges. Specifically, I love working with people who have a chronic health condition like I went through because I learned so much on that journey. But what I also learned on that journey was that we all have challenges and we all have blocks that keep us locked in place. And they manifest in our life in all types of ways. So, I get a lot of requests. People come to me for imposter syndrome. And I noticed one of the universities recently started a college course for imposter syndrome. And I laugh when I see that. I kind of chuckle because at the root, imposter syndrome is nothing more than low self-esteem. And it usually results from someone being shamed early on in life. So
Okay.
my clients will share with me, yes, a teacher made me feel stupid in class, or a teacher told me I was slow. So I know I'm digressing a little bit, but those are some of the blocks.
Oh no, I can dive right into imposter syndrome, right? It's real thing, absolutely is real. And as an entrepreneur, I can remember the first time I bought a business, like a brick and mortar business that I could walk into. I had businesses that were virtual and like vending businesses and video production, like service businesses my whole life or since I was a kid. But the first time I walked into my company that was mine, that I bought, cashed out my 401k and put the whole family's livelihood on the line, it was a surreal moment, right? And I was like, wow, did I really do this? This is a big thing. And then you got all this new responsibility. And imposter syndrome's really big issue. I deal with it. I've gone through the health issues, chronic health issues as well. I'm still in recovery mode, but I go to Smart Recovery, and there's a couple of pretty big hitters in my Smart Recovery group that have imposter syndrome that are doctors and stuff. So it's a really big issue for a lot of people, and it's really hard to overcome. I have a couple tips and tricks on how I deal with it. Do you have a specific tip or trick on somebody that is suffering from imposter syndrome? In my experience, it comes and goes, right? My experience is that imposter syndrome doesn't exist all the time. It's kind of these moments in your life. You're like, wow, am I really doing this? This is bigger than I ever thought I could do. How does somebody overcome those things?
Well, first of all, it really depends on the person. So as I mentioned, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and that's the only life I knew. So when I entered the corporate world, I managed to work my way into running mainframe accounting systems, and I had no college degree. I'd taken college classes, but no college degree. So here I am in this large corporation, and thinking, oh my God, if they find out who I really am, they're going to fire me. Not that I had lied on my resume. I didn't lie on my boss
Right.
could see the potential in me. That's why he hired me. And he highly encouraged me to go get my degree because he knew it would help me. So that's one type of imposter syndrome. Now in this career, I have days like you where I wake up maybe I'll wake up once a month and say, what are you doing? What makes you think that you can call yourself a healer?
Right.
So yeah, it can ebb and flow, and it can be pretty consistent for people who work in a corporate career,
Okay.
who feel like an imposter. And then for entrepreneurs, it can ebb and flow. So
Right.
it can be both.
For
Yeah.
me, it's a lot. I do a lot of like self-respect stuff, right? Like, make sure you're talking to yourself talk. And then the other one is just go back and write down some of your accomplishments that you did that got you to where you're at, right? And then,
Right.
oh, I am supposed to be here. I did the work to get here. I do belong where I'm at. And it's okay that I've got a learning disability, or that I was an alcoholic, or that I grew up poor. All those things are okay. I did the work to get where I'm at. And I think that's an important thing to, I try not to live in the past very much, but if I do, I try to just remember the accomplishments, the work that we did to get to where we're at. And I think it's an important thing, and it's a challenge, especially when you start getting notoriety and you start getting awards and things like that. You're like, do I really deserve this award? I didn't do, I just was me. That's all I did, right?
Yeah. And so you asked me for some tips, and I didn't really answer your question. So let me address that. Everything that you said that you do, those are great things. I am a Psych-K facilitator. That's pronounced Psych-K. I'm a Psych-K facilitator. And what we can do with Psych-K is we can shift limiting subconscious beliefs fairly quickly. And so again, I get clients who come to me specifically with imposter syndrome. And so we work on shifting those subconscious beliefs. We rewrite the past. Okay, so let's say you were called stupid as a child, or you were shamed by a teacher, or you couldn't keep up in class. Maybe you weren't good at math, but you were good at something else. We can actually, reframe the past so that you can feel more successful. I do a lot to boost my clients' self-esteem. As an entrepreneur, one of the tricks that you can use if you're having a down day, that's to talk to your best customers and ask them, read their testimonials, or ask them what they think your best qualities are. That will, we often don't even recognize our best qualities. So what happens to us, the things that come easy to us, we think, oh, well, I could never create a business out of that. Everybody knows that. But that's not true. The things that come easy to you, those are your skills, and those are your true attributes. And so if you're feeling down, even maybe you don't want to turn to your customers, turn to 5 of your closest friends and relatives and text them and tell them that Teresa gave you an assignment and to text you back your 3 best qualities as a person. And you'll be shocked at what comes back, and you'll be floating for at least a couple of weeks.
I think that's great advice. So just reach out to close friends and family. If you're a business owner, absolutely reach out to your clients and just talk to them and say, hey, what am I doing good? What can I be doing better? And you'd be surprised at what some of the feedback you might be getting back. I think that's really good advice, to make sure that you're reaching out to people. Not everybody has somebody that they can reach out to, but there's a lot of online social stuff. I know that my group is a free group, Smart Recovery. If you're dealing with, drug or alcohol issues, that's a free service nationwide. So there's there are resources out there for people to jump into and get that assistance. If you know, unfortunately, there's people out there that don't think that they have anybody to call. So talking with people in their peer group that they don't know might help them as well. So
Exactly.
fantastic.
And if we can just back up another moment, you had asked me previously about the Healer's Healer and that is all about. So I love, as you know, you and I spoke prior to the podcast, and I took a leap from a very left brain business. I had a marketing and a branding and website business, marketing, branding, and website business for almost 10 full years. And then I got pushed. And then, well, it was easy. It was easier because I was in the beginning.
Right.
I could get you on the first page of Google with very little effort at all. It was easy back then, you know. But then I stepped into this arena, this healing venue. And for some reason, despite all of my entrepreneurial experience, I thought the rules to business had changed. And I thought I needed other people to tell me how to be a success. And that, I think, was just a big clue there that I had imposter syndrome. I was afraid to come out of what I call the healer's closet. So I developed the Healer's Healer as a mentoring program. It's an offshoot of my main business to help heart-centered entrepreneurs step into their power and charge what they're worth.
That is a phenomenal service. And if somebody wanted to get that service or do a consult with you, how would they get in contact with you?
They can simply visit my website, and if you go under the financial success section, excuse me, that word doesn't want to come out. The financial success section, you'll see a link for entrepreneurs, and it'll say heart-centered entrepreneurs, click here, and then they can request a discovery session.
Wonderful. Thank you for doing that. It's a big problem for entrepreneurs, and being an entrepreneur is, you know, seemingly this great life. You've got people with you all the time, but it's also not the most friendly place to be, right? You've got a lot of responsibilities and a lot of, you have a lot of people around, but they're depending on you to do certain things. So sometimes it can get pretty lonely in that world, and we need assistance to help us push through. Now, I'm going to tell just a little story. When I was a kid, when I was really young, I was adopted by my stepfather and stepbrothers and stepsisters. So very chaotic family, very broken, shattered home. I didn't really see my parents much until I was probably 13 or 14 years old. Because my mom was a bartender. She worked nights. My dad was a union baker, right? They just weren't home a whole lot. So our kids kind of raised ourselves. But then when my mom got a more stable job out of the bar, she was, office worker. Every single night I would come home, my parents would be sitting on the couch watching TV, and they would talk about, oh, I want to open this business, or I want to do this, and I want to do this, and why am I, I got all this restaurant experience or bar experience, why don't we open our own bar or restaurant? And they didn't do it. They never pulled the trigger until my dad was 50 years old, and he finally opened his own courier service, and he died at 52. I think those are the two happiest years of his life, right? So, and I think that there's a lot of people out in the world today that are sitting on their couch. The only thing I knew then was that there's no way in the world I want to come home every night and sit on the couch with my wife and watch TV until we pass out. That's not the life that I want. So that's my ambition to do the things that I do. But there's a lot of people sitting on the couch talking about, why am I doing this for somebody else? I know this industry. Why am I sitting here why am I spending my time watching Netflix when I could be writing a business plan or doing these other things? What motivation can you give that person or that couple that's sitting on the couch dreaming about it to start taking action?
Well, I highly advise that you do your homework. A successful business requires certain components. You need, as you know, Ken, I don't have to tell you, you need a good attorney, a good accountant, and a great banker to help you be a successful entrepreneur. There are so many components it's much more than just flicking a switch and you wake up one day and you're an entrepreneur. You want to make sure you set yourself up for success. And that you can learn out of a book. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a big business coach to learn the essentials of how to become an entrepreneur. I also recommend that you look at your competitors, or look at who your competitors will be. Look at those who are doing it really well and study them. I can tell you, for me, I'm not the type to sit on the couch either. My work has to be fulfilling and meaningful for me, and that's what drives me every day. If you're not enjoying what you do for a living, whether you are currently an entrepreneur or you're working for someone else, then you need to start thinking about making a change. Life is too darn short, and as I mentioned earlier, those things that you find easy, those are your skills and talents, and other people need them. And so I highly encourage these people to fulfill that passion, because it's well worth it. The work is hard, but so is corporate. Working a corporate career, you're often under that stress of being let go. One corporation I worked for got bought out, and a lot of people were let go. So that's something that's out of your control. So, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Both have their pros and cons. But if you think you want to be an entrepreneur, I highly recommend that you start investigating it, talk to other entrepreneurs.
Right.
And,
yeah. I like the saying that the grass might be greener on the other side, but watch out, it might be over a septic tank. Right.
That's
so just
right.
be careful, because it might be greener grass, but it might be soggy and stinky grass as well.
That's right.
So, right. Just be
That's
careful
right.
when you make that jump. Talking with other entrepreneurs, I think, is huge, right? Start doing small actions. Like, you're not going to be sitting on the couch thinking, man, I want to open a restaurant, and next week have your own restaurant. That's not going to happen, right? But you can start doing stuff with your spouse, your husband, your wife, your significant other, whoever that might be, or yourself. If it's really what you want to do, start making the recipes, right? Start doing little things that you would do in that business. Exactly. If you were running that business. And eventually, if you do that, you'll do that on Thursday nights, and then next week you might do it on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, right? And then you'll start building those habits of doing the work instead of dreaming about the work. And I think that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Right?
So when I started my web development company, I was teaching technology. And so I was teaching full time, and, I'd come home from work and I started doing websites on the side because I just loved it. I happen to be one of those people who uses both their left and right hemispheres. So I had all the technical skills. I had that left brain, running mainframe computers, but I'm also highly creative. And so when the internet came along, and I know I'm dating myself, I have a big birthday coming up next week, and I'm completely comfortable with that. When the internet came along, I was like, right. Wow, is this perfect or what? I can combine my love for technology and my love for art, and I can make a living from it. So that's how that happened. But I kept teaching until my business was strong enough to support me.
Right. So I think, are you saying that you can be artsy and analytical at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. I can't do that. I can be one or the other, but I can't do both at the same time. It tends to fall apart on me. If I'm being analytical, then I don't have any artistic ability at all. It tends
would you like a quick solution for that?
Sure.
Okay, so we have what we call whole brain postures. Right. And when you're in a whole brain posture, you are integrating your left and right hemisphere.
Okay.
And all you have to do to get in a whole brain posture is to cross your ankles, which mine are crossed right now.
So
my
are mine.
ankles are crossed. And most people, I was speaking with someone yesterday, and when I described this, he said, I have to stop you because this is exactly how I'm sitting. Then you just, cross your wrists and you can rest your hands in your lap. The minute you do this cross over, you're integrating your left and right hemispheres. And now you're thinking with your whole brain. You can do this at any time you have an important decision to make, anytime you're approaching an important project. You can sit in a whole brain posture in a corporate meeting. Nobody's going to think it's weird that your ankles are crossed and you've got your hands in your lap like this. We do it automatically. That's why your ankles are crossed. We know intuitively that it puts us in a whole brain posture. So that's one way that you can start incorporating both hemispheres.
Well, I'm definitely going to try that more frequently. Actually, I'm going to start trying it and then see what happens. So, okay.
Yeah. It's also a great calming mechanism. So if one of your kids is upset, put them in a whole brain posture and ask them to breathe. They will calm right down.
I have a challenging son, so we'll definitely try that with him as well. My daughter is always calm for some reason, but she does that art and analytic stuff without a problem. She's smarter than I am by far. Lucky for me. Anyway, so you're doing full-time teaching, you're making websites on the side, that's a full business, and then you transfer into, and we talked a little bit about this, so I'm gonna bump through some of the details for you. You go into being a coach, but then you make this transition, the healer's healer. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what that transition was like, some of the hurdles that you had to overcome, and then how did you overcome those hurdles?
Yeah. So what happened for me, eventually my love for technology started to dwindle. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm the type of person that I need to be passionate about the work that I do. And suddenly I was no longer passionate to get to the office. And so I knew I needed to find something else. I tried several other things, and it just wasn't working out. And I was lost in life, and I wasn't sure what was going to come next. I saw an ad for a coaching program, a coaching institute online, and I made the call. And I had no intention of becoming a life coach. It wasn't my goal. My goal was to find out, I knew there was more to life, and I needed to find out what that was and where I wanted to go next. And so they promised me, they said, if you enroll in this program, your life will be forever changed. And in fact, it was. I went to the first live session in Atlanta, and it was that day that my life changed. And I realized that I was now going to have the skills that I needed to teach people how to heal their life. And so that's how that transition happened. It was a real bumpy ride. It may sound like it was smooth, but it wasn't.
Right. So how were there things that you did specifically, morning routines, things that you did that helped you overcome that adversity in those bumpy times, right? We talked about imposter syndrome. How am I calling myself a healer, right? What are some of the things that you do on a regular basis that make sure that when you get up in the morning and you're going to go do your job, that you're functioning at your highest level? So
I'm happy to share with the audience what I do, but that again is going to vary from person to person. One of the biggest issues that I see are entrepreneurs who wear themselves into the ground and they don't have a healthy life work balance. I learned that the hard way because I lost my health for over a decade. Again, I was on full disability for 9 years. I was ill longer than that. So I've already learned that lesson. I practice a good work-life balance, and that includes taking care of my health, nutrition, exercise, fresh air, meditation. For me, when I wake up in the morning, I don't let the world in. I take time just to align myself back into my day, back into the world when I wake up. So I have that quiet time that I spend in the morning before I turn my phone on and start looking, start letting all that noise in for the day. My particular routine, what works for me, I leave the office early on Fridays because I choose to work on Saturday mornings. I'm an early riser, so I can come into the office. I can be in the office by 8 o'clock, sometimes 7:30 on a Saturday morning, and I'm done by 11. But I get so much done because it's outside of the normal working hours, and so I'm not bothered with emails and phone calls. So those are a few things that work for me. And it's going to differ from person to person. Some people, they are night owls. And if that's you, if you are highly productive at night, then I highly encourage you to take advantage of that. Do what works for you.
Right. Absolutely. And try different things, right? Watch a lot of shows, read a lot of books, and try different things and see if they work for you or not, right? Meditation first thing in the morning. It's my understanding, and by no means am I a specialist in any of this mindfulness stuff, but I know that meditation in the morning and meditation right before bed are the two easiest times to get into the meditative state, right? Because you're kind of already going into that state, and it's a great time to program your subconscious to tell you to do the right stuff whenever your conscious wants to do the bad stuff, for that immediate gratification kind of world.
So just to expand on that a little bit. So in the morning, before your brain really gets going,
right?
And again, before you let all that noise in, that's a great time to meditate. And then in the evening, when you're ready to go to sleep, that's a great time to put on a visualization recording or a guided meditation, because that will help your mind to slow down and help you fall into sleep.
Right.
So many entrepreneurs, we have so much on our plate that when we get into bed, we need to stop that. The hamster is on the wheel, and sometimes there's two hamsters on the wheel.
Right. And a lot of, like me, I turned to alcohol to help turn that off, right? For many, many years. And it destroyed my liver. I almost died, all those things. And it's not good. We talked a little bit about the show before, a little bit about the topics before we jumped on the show. And you said that you had one kind of tip or trick that was, what are most entrepreneurs doing wrong, right? And you seemed that you had a really good idea of that a lot of entrepreneurs that are struggling have this one thing in common. Can you tell us what that one thing is?
Yeah, that's working yourself to death. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing it all wrong. I saw a post on LinkedIn about 2 weeks ago, and this young entrepreneur, female, had a selfie of herself just laid out with this sad face on, and her post was talking about, you have no idea how hard an entrepreneur works, and I've been up all night and I'm exhausted. And I wanted to reply to her post and say, honey, if you're not enjoying what you're doing it all wrong. So So listen to my words very carefully. If you're not enjoying being an entrepreneur, you need to re-examine the way that you're managing yourself and you're managing your business. I'm reminded of the story that Arianna Huffington told about when she was starting the Huff Post, and she was working incredibly long hours, and she had reached the point of exhaustion. She fell asleep at her desk, and when her head hit the desk, she broke her cheekbone. And that was her wake-up call. Okay, don't wait for that wake-up call. If you're wearing yourself into the ground, that means you're distracted. That means you are living in a very low-lying energy level. You're opening yourself up to chronic health conditions, self-medicating, potential accidents because you're not paying attention. And the last thing we want you to do is fall asleep at your desk.
Absolutely. So as an entrepreneur, there's times that you're going to be running with your head down. You're not going to look up. You're not going to take the time to think about yourself. So it's important to at least, once a week, set some time apart that you're going to stop and you're going to look up and you're like, am I even running in the right direction? Right? Make sure that if you're going to put your head down and you're going to run like that, take some time to pull out and look around and go, okay, yes, the end goal is worth this amount of time to keep my head down and exhaust myself. But you cannot stay in that state for, in your 20s, you can probably stay there for a few months, maybe even a few years before you get in a lot of trouble. In your 30s, it's, a couple weeks or maybe a year. And then in your 40s, you really got to make sure that you're taking that time out to heal your body and heal your mind and all of those things, because it just gets more and more challenging every single day.
Yes, it does. It does. And there's one other thing that I just failed to mention because it comes to me so naturally.
Yeah.
Sunday is my Sabbath. So, and I also call it my tech Sabbath. So on Sundays, I take a break from technology. I do not answer business emails unless it's a client emergency. Right. And I just step away. I mean, when we are working a corporate career, or maybe it's not a corporate career, maybe you're a waitress, okay? You get vacation days, right? But then we enter into this entrepreneurial world and we think we have to work 24/7, 365. So I forgot to mention that Sunday is my day off. Right. And I make, it's very rare that I will break that for anything or anybody other than a client in need.
Right. Sunday's my day off at this moment. And that's been about the last 5 months I've taken Sundays off. And I don't do anything on those Sundays at all, other than I hang out with me and my son, hang out at the house, and the wife, she takes my daughter to our business and they work on Sundays, and me and the son stay home and goof off all day. So
good for you. And it feels good, doesn't it?
It does feel good. It definitely does. I think until about 4 o'clock, and then my wife and daughter get home, and then we start, living a normal life again. But me and the boy are definitely just heathens for that first part of Sunday morning. So, and it's a good time. And we get that bonding time, which is important as well. So it always make sure that you're circling back and spending time with the family. It's wildly important. I know I don't do it enough, but I'm constantly asking them, and they say you're here too much. So I think we're in a good shape still. Teresa, thank you so much for your time today. I had a blast. I think we all learned a lot. Is there anything you would like to leave the audience before we go?
I would just like everyone to know that deep down inside, they are worthy of having a truly abundant, happy, healthy, fruitful life. And if you don't have that, just take a good look around and figure out how you can get it, because you deserve it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being a champion of that message. It's an important one that so many people in our world today need to hear. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. That's it for today's show, folks. Again, if you'd like to join my text line community, it's 314-370-2871. To join that line, all you have to do is send me any question about business or technology. If I don't know the answer, I've got a giant community that I'll reach out to and get an absolutely unbiased free answer just for you. Get to work.